All right, I have 12:03, so we can get going. And I've got some notes over here on the side of the screen here. So if you see me looking off, that's kind of why I'm looking over there. But let me go ahead and get my screen shared here. All right, so hopefully you can all hear me. Hopefully you can see my screen. All right, this is a webinar on how to market or position your M&A firm, focusing on content and collaboration. Now, before we kind of get into this, I just want to make it clear that while this is geared toward M&A firms or acquisition firms like private equity and so on and so forth, the content and collaboration strategies that I use, the approach, it doesn't particularly need to only be used in that field in finance. It can be used in any kind of field at all. But I find that this approach applies very well within the finance space. And that's also where I've been shifting my focus in the last few months as well. So while I know no one's particularly here to hear about me, they want the content. Let me just give you a quick introduction of myself. I am a fractional chief marketing officer and a marketing advisor. I work independently and I specialize in content and collaboration, strategic relationship building, that kind of thing. Basically, I work in two different ways. One is in a capacity as a CMO, in which case, for my clients, I basically come in and I lead their team. So I'm a team leader, right? My world is focused on the quarterly and the annual, right? I'll hire a team from my network, or I will work within your team if you've got one, and develop that team, lead that team, and spearhead all of the marketing initiatives and efforts. My other capacity as an advisor, I typically work alone, not always, but usually alone. And it'll probably be on a project. So for example, one of my clients has hired me to put together like a lunch and learn style event where he's looking to get around 15, 20, maybe 25 CFOs in the room that are CFOs of firms that are middle market. So generally 50 to 500 employees or 5 million plus businesses. And so they've hired me to put that event together and market it for them. And then in Q1, we're looking to put together a conference that'll be more like 100, 150 people. So in one of those types of examples, that's where I function more as an advisor or director, I guess, if you will, and I'll put together what the client needs. So, and again, I specialize in firms that are middle market, so they're generally doing 5 million or more. I find that those kinds of companies tend to need some of the strategies that I use, and they're most impactful at that level. So without further ado, let me adjust this a little bit. Okay. So content collaboration. Let's move forward here. This is going to be split into two sections, section 1, section 2. Section 1 is covering content, and this is really the answer to the question that I get most often from M&A firms or acquisition firms is, how do we get in front of more business owners? That's usually the challenge because they function as marketing agencies, basically, because they're buying and selling businesses. And they're usually, because they're run by finance people, they're usually really, really good at things like deal structure or identifying strategic exits from the business or putting together high return deals, or they've got their networks of wealthy people, family offices, investment firms, stuff like that. But where they typically lack in skill is with the marketing part, and that's how they actually engage with the business owners. How do they actually talk with them? How do they get in front of them, so on and so forth. And they have a lot of competition. So content is how you answer that question. How do we get in front of more business owners? And like I said at the beginning, this really applies to any kind of business as well. You can use all these same approaches, the same tactics, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go through these slides and I'm going to tell you a story. So it'll be a little bit more relatable and it makes a little bit more sense. But content covers live and digital events, as you can see there, as well as communications, that's things like email and stuff. And it should largely be educational or informational. That's what your content should be about, generally. You can go into entertainment as well, but generally people want education and information. So that's bread and butter right there. You want to really stick with that. So moving forward, my story focuses, the first story at least, focuses on, I'm going to call her Sarah. She was in charge of business development and marketing for an M&A firm, a mid-sized M&A firm that specialized in middle market transactions. So they had, I'm not going to name the firm, but they had a strong track record. They were pretty well known in their region, but their challenge was, you guessed it, trying to get in front of business owners more directly, and being that household name that people could go to. So what she did was employed a more comprehensive marketing strategy that would increase their visibility and their engagement with their clients. So she decided to implement a newsletter, a weekly newsletter, which those are really tough. You got to have some capacity for a weekly newsletter. But she created a weekly newsletter that was designed to engage with the clients and their prospects, their potential clients as well. And in each edition, it was full of industry updates, company news, like you can kind of see there on the slide, educational articles, and things like that, using all those best practices of personalizing it based on industry, having those call to action. The consistent schedule was probably, in my opinion, the most important piece, because I find in my experience that there's a lot of inconsistency around these things, and that's pretty monumental when it comes to what kind of results you're going to get, is how consistent you are, right? And like I said, doing a weekly newsletter is pretty tough. Monthly works very, very well. Quarterly is not often enough. You really want to have a consistent schedule that's frequent, where you're basically having a conversation ongoing with your clients or your prospective clients. Same thing, either or. I mean, think about it. If you have any relationship you have, whether it's a business one or with your spouse, how long do you think relationships are going to last if you talk only every quarter, right? Or every year, once a year? That's what a lot of firms do. And then is it any wonder why they don't have really strong relationships? There you go, right? So having that consistent communication is paramount. It can make all the difference, and you stay top of mind too. And that's probably that's one of the most important things in this whole idea, is staying top of mind. And you can do that with a consistent conversation through email or newsletters, such and such. Additionally, Sarah had developed a resource page for their website, which served as the central hub for all the resources that she also had her team put together, which were things like you can see there, white papers, ebooks, video tutorials, and the like. Not only does this content educate the audience, but it also improves their SEO ranking so that you can she was able to drive more traffic to their website, which a lot of firms do want. A lot of businesses want this, whether M&A or not, right? Getting traffic to your website is a great strategy, because then you can really open up the picture for your prospective clients and say, hey, here's who we are, here's what we do, these are all the things that you can get from us, right? This is why you should work with us. Building out a resource page is also a critical step in positioning your firm, but also standing out. I see very, 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 very few finance firms that have actual resource pages. The big firms always do. They have a wealth of resources. That should tell you something. But some of the smaller firms, the boutique size, all that, they don't typically have those things, and those are some of the tools that they're lacking. Now, in Sarah's case, she recognized that, and she was able to build these things. And so, like I said, it was able to drive a lot more traffic to their site, as well as serving to communicate more and educate more their clients and their potential clients, more importantly. So carrying on with this story here, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop in the chat. I'll try to catch them as they come in. But moving on, the next major phase that Sarah stepped into to enhance that engagement was creating events, things like webinars, dinners, lunches, conferences, and the like. These are things too that you can communicate through your email. or through your social media, like I say over there, under the promo strategy there. There's nothing particularly fancy here. There's no new knowledge necessarily you're going to pick up, and I feel like that's the beauty of these things. Honestly, is it's common knowledge that's just not commonly practiced. A lot of business owners or some of these smaller firms that I deal with just simply don't have the capacity to do these things. That's why they come to me, so I can execute them for them, or they don't have the expertise on how to put all this together, make it make sense, make it coherent, so on and so forth. But these are very necessary things. Once you get to a certain level, if you want to continue moving upward in your business, these are the things that you need to do. So Sarah was able to put together some of these events, get them promoted, and draw in several strategic partnerships as well as clients for her firm. One of her notable successes, one of her events, she had collaborated with a partner, and they saw something like 200 or 300 attendees. It was very well received. There were lots and lots of networking opportunities, and they were able to create a few other partnerships off of that. Now, I want to point out some case studies down there. KPMG and the M&A Advisor joint event, they joined up, and those two firms were able to attract over 600 attendees to their event. And next to that was EY, Ernst & Young, and Merger Market Alliance. Same thing. They were able to collaborate with each other and put together a summit that sees, I think it says, over 500 senior M&A professionals, resulting in several deals, so on and so forth, building a reputation. These are the things that are often overlooked or just not that well executed, or again, like I said, they're not consistent. I like to say, as a rule of thumb, your firm, regardless of how big you are, should be engaging, interacting, collaborating, co-marketing with partners in your ecosystem at least every quarter, if not more. Okay, you want to keep your friends engaged, and your friends, I say that your friends are your peers. Anyone who refers business to you. For M&A firms, it's typically CPAs, lawyers, and such. You want to engage with them as often as you can. I say at least quarterly. I like to see more like 6, 7, maybe 8 times through the year. And they don't always have to be really big events. They don't have to be a 500-person conference. You definitely want to have that, but you also can have 6-person lunches. Okay, and that's also counted in there. That's why I say, you can do 6 or north of 8 events, because you can do smaller ones that take maybe a couple weeks time to organize, and they're not going to be terribly expensive, right? So these work very, very, very well. I just actually came off of my own lunch the other day, where I saw right around 10 or so folks in the industry. It was a mix of private equity, lawyers, M&A professionals, and it was great. And they were able to share business right there on the spot. It was pretty awesome to actually see that. And I've got 3 or 4 meetings that are now coming up off of that as well. So it works. It works very, very well. And so that concludes section 1. That's the content part. Now, in my business, what I do is I put these things together for my clients: events, the newsletters, emails, conferences, whatever, managing social media, all that kind of stuff, building out webinars, doing in-person seminars, creating reports, blog articles, all of that. That's all the content piece. I do those things for my clients. Like I said, they work very, very well. Now, to the second half, section 2 is on collaboration. Section 1 was about how you get in front of more clients. Okay, section 2, the collaboration side, is answering the question of how do you dominate your space, because that is the kind of client that I like to serve most, is those who want to dominate their space and be the leading voice in their market. This is how you do that. So co-creation, joint ventures, partnerships, engaging with suppliers and stakeholders, distributors, vendors, all of that, like I briefly touched on, and other business support organizations. So I'm going to give you another story here. I'm going to call this individual Jackson. So Jackson was a CEO of an M&A firm as well. And their goal was to become dominant, the #1 firm in their region. And again, I'm not going to tell you which firm it was, but So Mr. Jackson knew that achieving this would require more than just excellent service. That's the bare minimum that any professional should provide. But it would require strategic collaboration and building a robust network. Now, I want to point out right here on the slide, collaboration, that little equation next to relationship plus consistent action. That's my own equation, because I always hear when I say collaboration and building relationships, people always say, oh yeah, we got a lot of relationships. We know all, we know bankers, we know so-and-so, we got referrals, all that. That's great. I hope you do. But there's a difference. Everyone's got a relationship. Consistent action is the part that's usually missing. When I ask prospective clients or just professionals I know, yeah, but how often do you interact with those relationships you have? When's the last time you put together a panel with them, or maybe a lunch or something like that? Oh, it's been a few months, or maybe a year. That's not good. So you have a relationship, you don't have a collaboration or a collaborative relationship, right? So that's the difference there. So back to our story about Jackson. So Jackson had turned to these strategies here that we're going to go through over a couple slides. He started by building out a network of complementary businesses, right? That way they could share in those benefits that you can see there, sharing resources, cross-promoting each other, and having that more holistic client support. So he built out a network of HR tech suppliers, and his firm, if I recall, they were focused on the technology industry as well as logistics. So I think something with their owners, their backgrounds were a little more heavy on that side. So they had more of a lean toward technology companies and such. And so they had some of those suppliers, those distributors that they could work with, and they started engaging them to put together, like you can kind of see at the bottom of the slide, there are some joint ventures, some co-hosted events and stuff like that. And so they were able to collaborate within that particular segment or that particular niche in technology and logistics. Now, real quick, I just want to point out this case study from Bain & Co. They partnered with PitchBook some time ago, and they put together roundtable discussions, workshops. They hosted their annual PE report, which was huge from what I understand. Co-hosted networking receptions, dinners, and they attracted over 2,000 participants. I don't know about you, but if I could put together an event that big, I'm pretty sure I would have too many clients, right? And that's the idea. That's what we all want, right? We want to be able to attract too many clients. So it's just really a testament to how some of these larger firms, Bain is huge in case anyone doesn't know, but how they act in their ecosystems. That's why they are leaders in their field. That's why everybody knows them. They dominate their space because of the collaborations that they engage in and the content that they've got. So let me change the slide up a little bit. So continuing with our story with Jackson, he built out a community of complementary businesses, just similarly like you can kind of see here, using vendors and suppliers and distributors that they were connected with, him and his firm, and they were able to leverage that network and turn it into clients and business and cash flow, right? So by sharing resources and sharing networks, they were able to attract a lot more business, both to his own firm as well as those that he was working with, his partners in these events and some of these collaborative efforts that they launched. So yeah, flip this over here. But the point was that Jackson was able to keep his firm at the center of his ecosystem by leading it and creating some of these incentives to work with his firm. And that's not just for the clients. It's like I'm trying to stress here. It's with the ecosystem, those that he works with, those that they refer him business, and you've got to incentivize that. I know a lot of folks have referral business, but how well do you incentivize them? And meaning like, not only do you pay them maybe some kind of portion of your fee, but you can do it in other ways. And I've listed some down here where you can give price breaks or just simply getting access to certain things, access to certain clientele. I know some folks would love to join my lunch, but they're not quite a fit, or I just haven't gotten a hold of them yet. But those things are important. Getting access is very important to a lot of professionals. Payouts are great, of course, or some kind of recognition is always great, especially for individuals. You don't always have to just pay people. Sometimes they just want the recognition for it. But that's the key. Again, it's not exactly new knowledge. It's really just being consistent and being intentional, right? Building the relationships and collaborating with them on a regular basis is absolutely key. Jackson and his company were able to, after I think a couple of years, they really dominated their space. They were at the center. They were like the little nexus in their ecosystem, and they were just had business pumping to them all the time. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking to do with my clients. Same thing. Building out those relationships is absolutely key. No man is an island. You want to focus outwardly, not just on your clients. You're going to tend to your clients. We know that. Focus on everyone around them that can send you more clients. That's the idea. So just to recap, and I know I'm going fast through this, but I want to get you all out to lunch and all that good stuff, and give any time to chat. But just to recap, the first section, content. This is how you stand out in a commoditized industry like finance or law or IT or health or any of those. Content will make you stand out. Okay. The newsletter, you need to communicate with your prospective clients and your clients. The resource page serves to educate them. The live events serve to engage them. You do all three of those things, you do them really well, do them consistently, you're going to stand out for sure. And you're going to stay top of mind, which is the most important part. That way, when anyone comes to a point where they need your services, or in this case, if you're an M&A firm or an acquisition firm, I'm a prospective client. I have a $50 million company. I want to sell my company. Who am I going to go to? I have no idea, right? Most business owners don't know who they're going to go and sell their company to. They're going to get on Google. How do I sell my business, right? Or they're going to call up their banker, who is probably not that great of a resource for this sort of thing. Hey, John, how do I sell my $50 million business? You want to cut that out all the way. You want them to stay off Google. You want them to know immediately who they're going to go to. I'm going to go to XYZ. Why? Because I'm already on their newsletter and they send me something every week or every month, or I go to their events and they talk about this stuff all the time. I went to one of their webinars the other day and they were talking about how to structure a balance sheet properly. And I thought it was great. I've done that now. And, maybe I want to sell my business. I'm going right to them, right? Content is key. Content is king. The collaboration piece, that's how you lead and dominate, right? You're going to lead your space, you're leading your market, your industry by engaging with your, what I call a monopoly community. This is how you establish a monopoly, is having those JVs, those partnerships to regularly, consistently engage with and produce content, but also doing business with, sending business back and forth to each other. That is how you do it. So your next steps are to reach out, engage with me, do one-on-one. I love one-on-ones. I love coffee. I love tea. I love lunch. Zoom is always great as well, or a simple phone call. I do these all the time. Explore your options on what you have and how I might be able to help with you, right? Going through these things is not easy at all. I always hear this from folks. So, oh yeah, we do a little bit of events. We have a newsletter that we run, and it needs to be tuned up though. Or yeah, we really do need to update our website. We should probably start putting out more white papers, articles. You don't have the time, most likely. And I can say that pretty safely because if you had the time, you would have already done it, right? This is where I come in. So your next steps are, like I said, meet with me one-on-one. There's my email right there. My website is full of information. I have the largest library of answers to the top 100 questions that all business leaders are faced with right now. And it's accessible for free. You go right to my website, click on resources, and there's a little search tab because there's so many blog articles in there. The odds are if you have a challenge, I'm addressing it in that library. So please feel free to look at that. And I've got videos on there. I've got YouTube that have a ton of shorts. They're all 1 minute long. They talk about all kinds of things marketing related and how to build relationships, how to do all of these things that I talked about in this webinar today. But key to this is taking the step, execute. And the first thing you need to do to execute is to call me, reach out, and let's get together and chat and see what options you've got. Let's talk about your business. I do focus on middle market firms, but it doesn't always have to be a $5 million business. They can be a little smaller. It just kind of depends on what is going on with the business and what you're wanting to do. I'm not a magician. You can't, you can't make 1,000 clients appear in a year with no budget, which is typically what happens with smaller firms, but there's a way to do it. There's always a way. So please feel free to reach out and engage with me, and I would love to meet and chat with you. If anyone has any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and that will conclude the webinar. And I think I did it in under 30 minutes, so that's great. You guys still have time on the clock for lunch. And like I said, this is recorded, so everyone who signed up is going to get this in their email along with a few other goodies, some articles, and the slide deck as well will be in there. I'll send that to you guys. So hopefully you got some good notes off of that. Absolutely, Melissa, thank you. And this will also go up on YouTube, so you can rewatch it at any time. So I want to thank you all for joining and tuning in with me, and I look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.